Hello and welcome to episode number 27 of Tuesday Night TerrorVision. Etep right here with you, joined by Mrs. Co-host Trina. Welcome, Trina.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to getting into this movie. And hello to everybody watching us. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody in the chat. Welcome. Yeah, we watched He Never Left, which we'll get to, but impromptu, I got a package in the P.O. box today. So I figured I would open that, and that is from our good friend Sean Etep again. Sean, if you're watching this on the playback, sir, you consistently go above and beyond. And while I'm cutting into this here, let me see if I have it. We will play the P.O. box address in case you want to send us anything to open on the air right here as I'm pointing with my knife. YouTube will probably think, oh my God, he's brandishing a weapon. It's smaller than the palm of my hand if I turn it slightly sideways. But here's where you can send us stuff. So we've got that right there. Let's see here. All right. So let's go over here now, and we'll see what is in the box here. And Sean has sent us a lot of stuff, and it's always cool. And he really went above and beyond this time. So thank you, Sean. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you. Oh, let's see here. Oh my goodness, Trina. Looks like I'll be sending some more stuff to you. I'm gonna. Oh snap! I'm gonna go solo here for a minute. Let me pull this up. Jesse Ventura's Marijuana Manifesto. Where is Vinny when you hear? Well, I don't know. Why don't you tell me? That's the best.
Great.
Like, oh my God! Look at this. It's a Rex Kwando from Napoleon Dynamite. That is amazing. Oh my God. This is fantastic. These are patches. These will be going on my jacket. Looks Trina, you'll be getting one of these.
Cool. Thank you, Sean Etep. You're awesome.
Yep, that is that'll be headed out for Trina, as well as one of these right here.
Oh, beautiful.
Dude, Sean is amazing. And this, I take it this one's for me. This is Jim Ross. Black Hat, one of my favorite all-time pro wrestling commentators. Good old JR. Yeah, Sean, I have enough reading to do now for a very, very long time, which I'm fine with. You can never have enough books. Trina, here's another one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this one. Woo! This is a good one right here. He sent me Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods.
Nice.
Damn. And this one he sent for Trey. It's a Frightlopedia.
Oh, that's
cool. This is so neat. Thank you so much, Sean. He is gonna love that. Yeah, he's an avid reader. So Sean again, Sean Etep coming through with a absolutely amazing haul here for us at the channel. My man, thank you so much. That is absolutely amazing. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Just wow. Just dude, just always does the damn thing. I'm always blown away when people send stuff, just because it's like, oh, you know, we have the PO box, but I mean, it's always kind of like, I don't know, it just seems kind of humbling that people want to like spend their money to send it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's very cool. It is. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are very thankful for that, man. And Sean, we're gonna do something for you, buddy. We'll do something for you, something special, because you, like I said, are a super fan. And yeah, so we're gonna get into this movie review here, but we have to hear from a sponsor. Trina, we have a sponsor here at the channel. So we'll take 14 seconds to pause and hear from our sponsor before we get into our review.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Have you or loved one been wronged by shitty wrestling? Call Yikes and Oof Attorneys at Law. 1-800-976-6299. That's Yikes and Oof Attorneys at Law.
That's great.
I used that in my Raw review video today, so I'm like, I can repurpose that into a quick sponsor spot. Now, let's talk about He Never Left.
It's not Paleface.
Okay, I saw like the trailer to this. I think one of us saw it and we watched it. I can't remember how we found this one. It was like the trailer or something.
This was your suggestion, so you are gonna own this one.
that I will. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either.
There was a lot that they could have done. It was a very claustrophobic movie at times, which it was designed to be, but they didn't. I thought they were going to stick to, like, you know, the one location more. They did, but you still were taking other places. Some of the characters, which we'll get into, I was just kind of miffed because they didn't really do anything except exposition, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the two marshals. They were exposition and almost a red herring, I guess. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I don't know if it was a writing problem or an acting problem. I really don't know what, but there was something missing. Yeah, you know, like it just didn't feel complete with those characters.
No.
You know, but that wasn't the worst part of the movie for me.
No.
So, like, let's start off. This was an indie funded project. So I really gotta give the guys involved with this project a lot of props for putting this together, making this happen, and it got a limited theatrical release. So I gotta give them props for that, and I've got it like I got a soft spot for them, you know, for it being an indie project.
Yeah.
So there's that. And that's why I'm gonna be a little easier on it than, like, say, a Blumhouse production or you know, like a James Wan film or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be as hard on it as something more polished. So
yeah, Blumhouse, James Wan, you're talking a major studio production with major financial backing.
Yes, exactly. So this was Dread with Witching Season Films. Yeah.
Yep. Which I liked their little title card for Witching Season Films. That was cool. I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm like, this is kind of old school feeling. I like that.
Yep. And it felt I appreciated that a lot because that had an old school feeling. And you definitely got the indie feel from it, which I appreciated that. But at the same time, I really felt that the opening to this movie was a lot more polished than I expected it to be.
Yes, the cinematography and the drone shots, because I'm assuming those are drone shots in the beginning, were the scope, like it was very Dean Cundy-esque. Now that I've got all this Dean Cundy cinematography in my frontal lobe, with those wide shots of the landscape, if you would have if I took those opening scenes and maybe framed them in the way that Season of the Witch was framed and dropped an orange filter over those like they did in that movie, it would look like a Cundy shot, and just a couple shots of the wide landscape. I'm like, damn, that it looked nice.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Yeah, the landscape shots were great. And we get the car, on the road, all these kind of desolate roads. This was because they tell you up front in their little prologue, in the text, the crawl or whatever you want to call it, that all these murders, disappearances happened until 1997, and then it was just kind of like nothing, right?
I absolutely love how they did that. They had like that basically like the synopsis of the film.
Massacre.
Kind of thing. True. That's right. Right. So basically, like they put on the screen like a splash screen. It's the synopsis it's like the backstory of the film, where it takes place, and it's about the pale-face killer and everything like that. And I absolutely I watched it a couple of times. That's how much I liked it. Was how when they faded out the words, but they left "he never left."
Yep.
That was so well done. I was like, that's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is cool. That got major marks from me for that.
Yeah, it was kind of ingenious. The way they worked that. It looked fantastic. Yeah, that was, like I said, that just made me go right to Texas Chainsaw Massacre with that. They didn't have narration or anything, but I think it would have been neat if they did. Like, that's one thing. I would have had somebody do an ADR for that, and have somebody read it. Like, I would have went opening crawl like they did in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, scroll it. I still like it, but I mean, if I'm tweaking things in my head and just making little subtle adjustments, I would have ADR'd a voice and I would have had it be an opening crawl, because it's not like it was going to cost anymore. You can't tell me that there's not somebody involved with the production that doesn't have, a voice that could, convey that dread. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it was a cool gimmick, and I dug it. Absolutely. Yeah. The way they faded out and just, he never left. It's very clever, and it just gives that film a little touch. It's when they do little things like that, it just, to me, you can tell it's an indie film because it's like they care. I don't know. Like, they'll do that in big Hollywood things, but you wouldn't expect some of that shit in an indie film. You just expect like a basic font, you know what I mean? Or something that tries to be over the top and just looks independent. Like, that looked good. It was polished.
I loved that. That was so that was so neat. I didn't expect that to happen. And so seeing that, it was like, dude, that's cool. So yeah, I rewinded that and watched a couple times. So yeah, I appreciated that. And yeah, like we already talked about the car driving through the country, like that was just absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
Like I would love to be on that drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it almost was like kind of like the drive through the like side of the mountain. I think it's in Shining, where that takes place. You know, like around there, like
Yep.
kind of gave me that feeling as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they took that. So it's a beautiful shot with all the fall foliage and everything is orange. It's autumn, basically. You can tell.
Yep.
And as the car is driving, there's this kind of foreboding music. So it's like a juxtaposition between the beautiful scenery and the unsettling music at the same time. And I liked that, and that's when they were kind of putting the like written by, directed by, starring and all that stuff. And it all fit nicely, but it didn't kind of drag on too long. I really thought that the opening was very well done. And hello, Tommy, good to see you.
What up, bro? Yeah. The opening to this was honestly, I want to look up the budget because I'm not trying to be obtuse here, but I think they blew most of the budget on the opening.
It's very possible. The opening and then the very end, like it feels like the best parts of the movie were the very beginning and the very end.
Yeah, this movie was it was 90 minutes, right? So
Yeah.
they took 10 minutes, five in the front, 5 in the back, and then they bookended 80 minutes of just something. Something. It was like I felt like Mr. Meeseeks in Rick and Morty. It was like, ooh, he's trying. It's like, can you take 9 strokes off my golf game, Mr. Meeseeks? Nah, I don't think so. Can you make this movie? Can you make this movie as good as we really, really wanted it to be? Ooh, no way, Jerry. No, yep. I kid. No, I'm looking up IMDb. James Morris wrote, and he was the one that played the U.S. Marshal in this.
Yeah, he was Tim, the Marshal. Yeah, Tim. Marshal Tim. Yeah. And then was the other Marshal, was that Mike, Sean Hunter as Mike? Was he the Marshal?
Yeah, that's Sean Hunter.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, like did you know these actors? I didn't recognize any of them.
I did not recognize a single one of these guys. Okay. And Mike was he was Sean Hunter was Mike, and he was the production designer on this movie.
Yeah, so that's another thing I wanted to bring up. So a lot of the actors were people who actually were producers, directors, writers, editors, cinematographers of the film. So like this was very small budget, but they made the most. Like you could tell that they were really trying to save as much money as they could, because I was watching the ending credits and it looked like they used a lot of family members as well as like extras in the film. So I actually like that. I think that's awesome. And it was just like, yeah, this is totally indie, totally an Indiegogo project.
Yeah,
I love that. I just love that. The story itself, like the premise of the movie, I think is good. The execution, the execution in some spots was very lacking, and in other spots was okay.
Yeah, this movie never got into that second gear.
Yeah.
It never got into this
Yep.
reminds me of Deer Camp 86 in certain aspects. I do think that one achieved what it wanted to
Yeah.
more effectively than this. I really
agree.
do.
Mhm.
That one, for as much grief as I gave it, was a better movie. They're different movies. You might say apples to oranges, but if you look at these, they're both independent, you know, crowdfunded, a lot of family and friends involved. That one was a better movie. This one played it way more serious. Like, there was absolutely zero comedy in this one.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
Zero. If anything was funny, it was because it was something that they tried to do and it failed, and you're like, you know, kind of like, you know. But those spots were, there was a couple where I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But we'll get to it. So I do have to say, as I'm watching this movie, and I have an eye for certain things, and what was her name? Cindy, the young gal that worked in the garage. As soon as I saw her sitting there, they show her in a tank top, and I'm like, she works out. I'm just looking at her arms. I'm looking at her shoulders and her biceps. I'm like, okay, what is she, like a gymnast or something? So I just looked it up. She's a fucking acrobat trapeze artist for Cirque du Soleil.
Yep.
And before that, she was a fucking cliff diver.
Yep.
That hats off, young lady. She's had 4 acting credits, but the Cirque du Soleil thing is impressive because I've been to a Cirque du Soleil, and
Me too.
It's absolutely, the athleticism and the acrobatics is nothing short of astounding.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could tell. It's like she's some kind of athlete. Like, yeah, but she had a very bit part. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I was kind of waiting for something else to happen with the character. I'm like,
yeah, I know.
Did they spend all this time in this little awkward kind of like, it was like almost like he was trying to flirt with her or she, you know what I mean? It was like, there was like that, they tried to like, it was just supposed to be a one-off scene, but it was very wonky. It was a very wonky scene.
Like with her character, I was like, I wonder if she's going to be one of the ones that gets killed in this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because she had that look. You know,
Yep.
she works at, like, what was it, a garage or something?
Yes, she worked at the garage.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the perfect setup for, like, she's gonna be killed. But nope.
Like, I know it was very, like, normally when they introduce a character like that, there's 2 kinds of ancillary characters in that respect. It's ones that are like they introduce them and they are of no consequence to the plot, or they're introduced simply as cannon fodder. And that's what I assumed with her she was going to be cannon fodder, because honestly, because of her look. I'm like, she looks like a horror movie victim. She's got that look.
Literally, that's what I thought.
And I, folks out there watching, if you haven't, I like that look. Trust me. She's my kind of look. You know, I mean, she seems like the kind of actress you could get in an indie film. So I'm like, I'm filing that away in my memory bank for the horror movies I got planned, because she'd be an awesome victim. Because she, either that or like, this is somebody that, this is the final girl.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's true.
In another movie, I mean, look at her. She's still kind of petite, but she's got an athletic build. This is a final girl right here, because this is the kind of, if she has the acting chops for it, that can show that vulnerability and still show some strength and have the physical abilities, because the actress has that background. You can write that into the characters. She has a gymnastics or acrobatics back. Why do I have to come up with this and it's not going to make me any money?
The character kind of like her real life, it writes its own character.
she's a great fucking protagonist as herself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen Wolf, have your people get a hold of my people. We'll talk. But no, so we open with these beautiful shots, these beautiful, gorgeous shots, car driving, and we go to the we go right to the motel.
Yep.
And
so we first saw, so even before that opening like splash screen, where like before it says like the backstory of Paleface, the first thing we really see in the movie is like a murder taking place in a hotel room.
Yep.
And like it shows that it's on a Halloween, and it's at this kind of, kind of crappy motel, and then it goes right into the hotel room where a woman is getting murdered by just getting murdered. And then that's a quick scene, and then like it ends with like she's trying to make it out the motel, but like that's, she doesn't make it, and then we see the for over a decade the small town of blah blah blah, that all happens, and then we see the car driving. So then as we're following the car, that's when we get back to the hotel. We're at the same hotel that we saw in the very beginning, but this is a long time later. Like this is years later. But it's the same motel. And so as she stops the car, she gets a phone call, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get a room. And she's like, it's the only place in town. And we see that on the phone, it's this guy, Gabe, calling. And it seems kind of like a tense conversation. And so she goes into the office and is asking for the room. She asks for a specific room, so that he can see like what, down the highway, or some kind of line of sight. He needs some kind of line of sight. So she goes in and asks for room 10, but that's got water damage. 9 is occupied, so he gives her room number 8. And she asks for 3 days, and he's like, how many people? And she's like, it's just one person. So right there we know that that something's going on, because she's obviously with Gabe, but she's not letting the motel manager know that he's with her. And then so she gets the key, and as she's leaving, the manager, his name is Bryce, he goes, no turning back. And she turns around, she's like, what? And he goes, no turning back. And he goes, it's the Wi-Fi password. And so I kind of like, I got a kick out of that. I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. And then we find out that Gabe was hiding in the trunk.
Yeah.
And then so they get into the room and they start fighting. And she's like, I'm not losing my kid. I'm not losing my kid. And he's like, no, you're not going to lose your kid. And she's like throwing shit at him. And this is where I feel like there was a little bit of a lack in good writing, because it's, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you didn't really explain what the hell is going on. Like, why is, I don't know. I just felt like the writing was lacking here.
Well, yeah, because they get into the hotel room, and you can tell that this guy's obviously hiding in the trunk for a fucking reason. Mm-hmm. Immediately, I'm like, he's hiding in the trunk. Okay, he just murdered somebody or robbed a bank or something like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing, which not really the case. But yeah, she just starts throwing shit at him. He's trying to call. I'm like, first of all, don't ever tell a woman to calm down. Like, fucking A, dude. Like, unless you're looking for an argument with a possibility for makeup sex, which this case, there was a 0% chance of that. Plus she was a soulless ginger. So
Yeah.
I'm shocked she didn't kill him right in the beginning. I like when she went to throw the Bible. They made a point to show the Bible. Like,
yeah. Like,
she's fucking.
like, what are you saying here? What are you saying here? Like, literally throw the book at him?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was like, this guy's like, hey, do you want to come on a trip with me?
I
And
don't
she's,
want to come.
Yeah.
you know,
It's a wonky scene.
it was. Yeah. The writing here, they could have done something without giving everything up front, just to kind of, I don't want to lose my son. I'm not losing my son. And I'm like, as soon as I saw this woman, I told her, because Erica watched it with me, I'm like, she's a fucking tweaker.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't find out for a while, but spoiler alert, she's a fucking tweaker.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn, I know the type. I can just pick them out. And yep, they didn't, her teeth weren't as fucked up as I thought they'd be for a methoddict.com. But shots fired. No, so yeah, she's like, this guy, you know, you're kind of getting the pieces filled in here, and you know, he's trying to calm her down, and she's like, you know, I got it. Didn't she say she's got to leave, or
yeah, she gives him a bag of toiletries, and then and one thing that ends up being kind of funny later on is there's a not Mountain Dew in the bag, and he's like, what the hell is this? And she's like, Mountain Refresher, it's Mountain Dew for douchebags. And that ends up, you know, it plays a part a little bit later on in the movie. So that's a cool thing that they did. So that's a little like, I like when the writing does that, when it's like, we're going to reference something early in the movie. That I think that shows writing talent. And then, okay, so here was a big issue for me. Now, these two are supposed to be like girlfriend and boyfriend. But he starts, so in order to clue the audience in, he starts saying, well, she's like, what happened? And he said, I've been out for 4 months. Part of the requirements is that I get a job. And he starts telling the story about it, how he can't get a job. He applied to a bunch of places. And then
they show him going into the garage. Remember, he goes to the garage.
Yes. Yep. The garage that acrobat Cindy works at.
The character's name. Yep.
Yep. And so they're showing him going to different places, and that was one of the places that they showed. And he says like he couldn't get a job anywhere. Then finally, you know, he finds like this stupid little like a snow cone place where he interviews, where a 17-year-old kid interviews him, and he's like, you have potential. And that was kind of insulting to him, because here's like this grown-ass man and this little like wet behind the ears kid telling him he's got potential. But he's like, you know, what am I going to do? I need the job. So, and then he goes absolutely into this like tangent about consequences, and it's an incoherent rant.
Yeah,
like it's like, dude, whoa, what's going on here?
They were trying to make him seem like he was having this like internal crisis, and I think this is kind of one of those spots where you roll your eyes at the writing, and you're like, you could have achieved this effect, the effect that you were going for. Less is more in this. Less is more. Like I should go back. I want to go back and clock the dialogue time in this scene, and then cut about 60 seconds off of it at least. Because they could have done so many different things to achieve that, as far as writing, and because this movie liked camera cuts. So
in some cases the camera cuts were actually very good. Like while he's like monologuing, they show him going to the different places he applied at. That was good use of time.
Yeah.
The thing that stuck out to me, I was like, these two are girlfriend and boyfriend. She should know he's been trying to find a job for the last 4 months. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense. This would only make sense if they were friends who had lost touch.
And
So that was a little like, did you think about that before you wrote it in the script? You know what I mean?
yeah. And her son, like, they never allude to the fact that it's his kid. So, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem to, he says, you're not going to lose your son, not our son.
Was it his son?
I don't think it was.
No, I don't think it was either. I think it was just her kid.
It was her son. So it's like they never once referenced that. So it's like this, like, how far is their connection back? You know what I mean? Like, because she's worried about losing her son, which it's like, what? Like,
yeah, it doesn't. It really, the timeline does not add up here, and it's like, it would have made way more sense if that was also his kid. Like if they had a child together.
Yep.
And then they could have tweaked his dialogue, his monologue, like instead of saying, "Well, I've been out for 4 months and part of the requirements," because she would have known all that. But he could have said it in a different way that also lets the audience know what's going on.
Yep.
So yeah, the monologue I had a bit of an issue with because it's like this feels like it wasn't checked before they just said send it. And then that tangent he went on. So were they trying to like say that he was getting a little batty?
I think so.
Okay, because it didn't really come out very well. It was just kind of like, this is stupid. This sounds stupid to me. And hello, Tony.
Hey, Tom.
But yeah, like, so there was that. It was just bizarre to me. I think it could have been a lot. I think it could have been much better. And then, so when he is talking about the consequences, and he goes into that like incoherent rant, he's like, well, what you need to, he's something about like, you need to think about your consequences, and then he's like, well, what you need is a life because you're dead, and then we see the face of like a dead, the dead 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a shock. It was like, okay, that was cool. I wasn't expecting that. And then he gets up to like go brush his teeth or something, and he kind of puts this cloth over the mirror. And it's like, why? Why are you putting a towel over the mirror?
I looked at that like he put that towel over the mirror.
Well, we know why at the end why he did it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It was a dumb move. Like, nobody does that.
No.
Like, did he not want to look at himself?
That's what I got from it. That's the only thing I could surmise, was that he couldn't stand to look at himself because he had killed that manager of the snow cone place. And that story, like the whole thing with him, it's like, dude, like, okay, you just got out of prison and you're desperate for money and you just got a job and you're trying to turn your life around. Like, and I understand how recidivism works, but at the same time, it's just like, again, like they could have done that differently. I understand why they did it, but it was just like, it was kind of wonky to me.
Yep, me too. Yeah, I agree. It's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I wonder if they even consulted with any ex-cons because
Yeah,
I feel like
and
there
then
was no research done.
no, and then they spent all that time on the dad and the kid at the counter at the snow cone store, and he's like staring at the kid, and he's like, "Hey," and he kind of snaps out of it, and I'm like, "So does he have a kid or does he not have a kid? What the fuck are we trying to do here?"
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about that scene because that was an absolutely, I feel like, a wasted scene because
yeah,
okay, so he's working this mundane job that I get it. It would suck to work at his age where, he probably has talents that could be put to use everywhere else. Um but he's doing this mundane job, and this father comes up with his young son, and he's like, well, I wanted raspberry, not blue raspberry. And he's like given the he's kind of like making it personal, like, well, it's blue raspberry, what's your problem? It's like, well, I doubt that would happen, but if he's starting to get really pissed at his job, I guess you could see it. What I expected from that is they're kind of showing he's not taken well to his job. I expected
yeah,
him to kind of like flip out and murder some people, but they didn't
yeah.
do that. Like they didn't have that. I don't know. I just feel like it was wasted potential. Instead, we find out that he just takes some petty cash, and then as he's like fleeing the scene, he accidentally um uh does a vehicular manslaughter on his 17-year-old boss. And I'm like, I don't really know what to make of this. Because
I don't, go ahead.
like, I understand if they're trying to make this be the thing that kind of is making him lose his mind a little bit because he killed a kid, which would absolutely like mess a normal person up. And he, like, the things he went to jail for, I don't think were anything serious, were they? I can't even remember. But it wasn't like
Did they ever go into it?
I
I
I think they did. I can't remember now though. But I just remember the Marshal Tim saying, "Well, I don't think he like did that kid on purpose. So his priors can't be anything serious. It's got to I honestly can't remember, but I just remember the marshal being like, "I don't think he did that on
Yep.
purpose." So he's not a violent guy.
No. And I thought before they showed how he killed the manager of the snow cone shop, the way he was brandishing the pistol in the hotel room, I thought he shot him.
Yeah.
I assumed he had shot and killed him over the money, and then it's not. He just swiped it, took off, and fucking ran him over.
Yep.
I mean, at that point, you're was he was wanted he wasn't wanted at that point.
No, he was
So
like
he was out on
probation.
parole. Yeah, he was on
Parole.
parole or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's not wanted. So at this point, you take the money, and this sounds terrible, but you take the money and you put it back on the guy, and you're like, oh my God, I was backing out and I didn't see him. You know, and this whole situation is avoided, like literally. You know, I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
you're already a
and
fucking, you're already a criminal, so why not? You're thinking self-preservation.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's what you would think would happen, and it's odd. Unless there were too many witnesses at the snow cone place, that could be, but they didn't
But
really show that.
no, but that's the thing is like, you're like, oh my God, you get down, you grab the money, you put it in your shirt, because he's got the collared shirt and you just tuck it right here inside the buttons and you get down over the body like you're checking him, and then you just take it and you slip it in his pocket. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Hey, he's a manager. He's walking out with it. He doesn't want to carry a bag full of money, so he's got it in his pocket. You know what I'm saying? It's fucked up that I'm thinking this way, but you know, I mean, in terms of the character, in the reality of a situation, this is what would have happened. You know, it's you're going to either hide the money, or this guy chose to run. You know, fight or flight. You know, and he ran, which lets the rest of the plot happen. That, you know, that happened because the plot needed it to happen for him to get into the trunk of the car, to get to the hotel, you know, for all these events to unfold. Now, when what was her name? I can't remember Tweaker girl's name. We can just refer to as Tweaker. Carly. When Carly the Tweaker, now she leaves at some point. Now she said she's staying in this room alone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, she said she's staying in the room alone. So now the you've already got a sense that the guy running the hotel is weird, because this hotel is very old horror movie-esque in that sense, that it's very Halloween 3, having that fresh in my mind. That Rose of the Shannon hotel, that roadside inn, that old school kind of hotel that your grandparents probably stayed in, you know, alongside the interstate. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So this is a very kind of rundown, shady. It's funny. There's quite a few of those in the town where I live, because it's a very small town. So there's bigger hotels, but there's also those, you know, those holdovers from the old days. And that's exactly what this is. And there was a lot of nods to old horror in this. And I think they did it at times to the detriment of their own movie. You know, you go to the well too many times with that. It just seemed to be some of the things they tried to do. And if I really wanted to do, if I thought it was worth it to like write a big video essay on this movie, you could track down a lot of horror references in this. Like the hotel, like I said, it's either Halloween 3 or like Psycho. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking Psycho.
Yep, that was my initial, and then it was like, that's kind of Halloween 3 too. But yeah, and then you have the creepy hotel guy, Bryce, which until he mentioned his wife, I was like, I thought Bryce was gay.
Same.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but Bryce is weird enough as it is. There was really no weird messaging in this movie either.
No, I do wonder about the choice of the name of the serial killer, though. Paleface.
Yeah, I think it was more a nod to the mask.
Could be, yeah.
That's kind of
yeah.
I didn't get that, because there was nothing else in the movie that would lean that way. You know what I mean?
That is true.
Plus, this wasn't a very diverse cast.
True. Yeah.
But I mean, you can tell this was a real, like, outside of probably a couple actors. I mean, the main cast and crew are a actual like friend group. So, you know, this is a group of people who naturally came together. So, I mean, it is what it is as far as that's concerned. That right there to me is why movies like this, it's like if you say, oh, well, they didn't have this. Would it have mattered? Nope.
No.
This is just who happens to be in the movie. You know, it's to me, that's the way I look at that. It's like when people complain about, like, they go back and they say like shows like Friends wasn't diverse. I'm like, well, that's just who happened to be in the show, and that's who the show is about. You know, did anybody say that about, you know, Martin or, you know, Rock or was it Family Matters? No, because those were universally loved shows because they were good and they were enjoyable. They had a good message, you know. So that notwithstanding, I didn't really pick anything up in this movie. There was no point where I pounded my fist, was like, woke.
Yeah, same.
Even jokingly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, so Jesus Christ, before I went off on that fucking diatribe, where the fuck were Gabriel, our fugitive. Gabriel he's in the hotel room, and now it's evening. And did he call has he called Andre at this point? I'm trying to piece this back together.
So after he covers the mirror, Carly decides to head home. And she's like, I'll be back in the morning with some food. And as she's driving, he gets a password from her, and they make it a point to say it again.
Yep.
No turn. What was it? No turning back.
No turning back.
Yeah. As she's driving off, we see someone. We see like as the audience, we're looking out at her from like across the street, and that comes into play at the end of the movie. So we see her drive off, and then he is that when then he calls Andre. And Andre's like, dude, your face is all over the news and all that stuff, and he says, if I call you, answer the phone.
And they make a point. Andre's talking to his daughter in the background.
Yeah, and that like triggers Gabe. That triggers Gabe. He's like, oh, you have a daughter. So like, it's like they should have given Gabe a kid.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where they would go. Like I don't know. I just feel like that was kind of missing from it.
Yeah, it was very weird because like there was a lot of instances. I mean, unless this is kind of dark. This is a very dark theory, but was Gabriel I don't think Carly would have been with him though.
I didn't get that sense from him.
I didn't either, but I'm just like, I'm trying to figure this out. What is it with him and kids? Because he doesn't have a kid. Does he want to have kids? I mean, because he's like the kid at the snow cone stand, Carly's kid, Andre's daughter. It's like there's something there. And I don't mean to automatically go nefarious, but I mean, he's a criminal. So I'm just trying to think here. But I mean, what were we supposed to assume that him and Carly had the kid together and she was just referring to it as my son because she didn't accept him as the father anymore?
Yeah, like that feels like a plot hole to me.
I don't even think they lived together.
No.
He was like homeless.
Yeah, it seems. Right? Yeah, it seems like they just dated for a while. Like I don't even know. Like this is what I'm saying.
How did they meet?
I don't know.
How do they have this fucking history together? Like this is never explained. And then they go more into Carly's backstory, later on, and it's like you're like, what? Huh? Like, that's another area where the writing completely shit the bed with those two's connectivity, because I just watched this. There's no way I missed something that big.
No.
Those two.
No, because I made a note. I made a mental note of that as well. Like it didn't make sense. Like preoccupation with kids, because like you said, the father coming up with the son, and he's like I don't know, is the son that guy's son, is that what triggered him to kind of like lose his mind, and then he connects that to killing the 17-year-old kid? Like, we don't know, because they didn't connect any dots here.
No. And there could have been a common thread, but they gave us nothing.
Yeah, nothing. It's like It doesn't even make sense. It would totally make sense if he and Carly had a child together and she lost the child to the state because she was a junkie. That would have made sense, that other people, like, oh, you have a daughter now, like that would make him cry because he lost his kid. That would have made sense. This is just like they forgot to write it or something. I don't know.
This reminded me of the video I made today, because I said in the beginning or the middle of the video, I'll talk about that at the end, and then I never did. I just kind of forgot. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a huge deal, but in this case, this is a huge fucking deal.
Yeah.
Like this is a big fucking piece of backstory that you're completely just glossing over. And then you include scenes that go nowhere and really mean nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Oh my God, for real. Like, okay. Well, I don't want to skip ahead because talking about that, I think I know what you're getting at, and going there skips way ahead. But yes,
we can wait.
It's like you gave us all of this, but this has nothing. This bears nothing on the story itself.
Yep.
Like show us the backstory where maybe he has a child that passed away. Or something, but nothing.
He had a kid with an ex, and him going to prison ruined that relationship, and then it's like nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, like George Costanza, nothing, like nothing.
Okay, so moving along. So yeah, we'll keep that in mind. So he falls asleep, and then he is kind of like having a nightmare where that his 17-year-old boss is like, Gabe, wake up, something's happening. And he wakes up, he hears a car pull up, and then a woman says, like, a woman's like knocking or something like that.
Yeah,
and she's like, oh,
at the door.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, sorry if anyone's in there, wrong room, stuff like that. Like, but he's like freaked out.
He's got his gun trained right on the door at this point. Like, he thinks somebody's coming through the door.
Yeah. Every time he gets spooked about someone coming near the door, he draws his gun. And then he goes back to bed, and then we see a scene where this is the part we have mentioned, where he's working at the snow cone place, and then the father with the son comes up and it's like, we got the wrong thing, we wanted just regular raspberry and all that stuff, and then like you can tell that it's becoming a tense situation, and then this is where he wakes up and we actually see his boss, and his boss has like a gash on his head with blood running down, and that's where the boss is telling him to like get up, and he gets up, and Gabe gets up and washes his face, and then he's hearing like what sounds like a murder in the adjacent motel room.
You said Gash, so Ron Gashman appeared.
Oh my God. I was looking at my notes and I looked up, all of a sudden I see that, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Don't say Gash.
So then the next day, we see a couple of marshals driving headed toward Larson City, and that's when we meet the Marshal Tim and his partner Mike. Okay, and they're talking about, well, Mike is talking about cicadas and how they wake up every 17 years or whatever, and I'm sure that they mentioned that because 17 and Gabe's boss was 17, but still, that doesn't connect to Gabe at all. But
No.
Tim is like, at least Tim was like, he's like, I never knew that, but do you realize that I've gone my whole life and I never needed to know that?
Yep.
So, like, I appreciated that kind of banter.
Yeah. That was normal, like, banter that two real human beings would kind of have.
Yep. Yep. And then this is where they stop at that garage and they talk to Cindy and they see the woman. There's like the missing posters on the wall, and the first woman, like, yeah, the first woman's face is her picture's up there. Can't remember her name, but she has a puzzle piece necklace. And
Stephanie something, wasn't it?
yes, Stephanie. Yes, that's it. And they start talking about like pale face. Well, first they were asking about like Gabe, if they've seen this person, and she's like, well, what did he do and stuff, and they're like, well, actually he killed somebody, and then they mentioned pale face because of like the pictures on the back, in the background and stuff. And she's like, wait, do you think this is connected or something? And they're like, well, we can't really talk about the case. And then the other Marshal Mike, puts some snacks on the counter, and he puts a mountain refresher on the counter.
Yep.
And that's a funny part because that goes back to the beginning when she gives Gabe, when Carly gives Gabe the mountain refresher, and she's like, it's Mountain Dew for douchebags. So
Yep.
I appreciated that. It was like, okay, that's cool. That's a cool little reference and a joke. I feel like we needed more of that in this movie.
There was room for it. There really was.
Yes, absolutely. So then it cuts away to Gabe driving away. And he, like, yeah, it shows where he hits his boss, and then he wakes up from that and he sees like, he's awake, but he sees the vision of his dead boss like right in his face. And that's kind of a jump scare to us, the audience. And then Carly shows up, and he's talking about how this place is weird and we need to stay somewhere else. And he's like, there was like screaming and struggling next door. And he's like telling her how, it just sounded scary and everything like that. And she asks if he did anything, and he's like, no, I didn't do anything. But what she's really wondering is if he helped anybody. So she goes next door to check on the woman, and we don't see it, but we hear the woman says she got. Wait, do we see it? No, I can't remember.
No, we don't see her there.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so the woman, we hear Carly knock on the door. The woman answers, and she's like, you okay? And all that stuff. And the woman's like, oh, yeah, it's nothing. I just got my foot caught on the computer cord and all that. And then Gabe feels relieved and lays down. And then Carly drives off. And I feel like, why did she just drive off after that? But she goes home and throws the motel key away, and that's when she decides she's done with Gabe. And it's like, okay, I don't really understand why.
Right?
Why that point? Why at that specific point?
Yeah, what was the actual straw that broke the camel's back there? That really didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense at all. I was very confused at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, out of all the times that she could have taken off, she's like, nope, now's it. Fuck it. I'm out. Like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Really? I'm not going to lose my son.
And then we find, well, okay, I won't say anything. But then I guess, yeah, so then Gabe's like watching TV and we hear like the new, or is he watching on his, I think he's watching on his phone or something like that. And we hear how like, there's been the news, the news anchor is saying like that there's been a tragic hit and run. And a 17-year-old is dead and all that stuff. And it tells the story, basically the story that that we've really already been told by him when we first meet Gabe. That's kind of the monologue that he goes into about what happened with that 17-year-old kid. Like we had already put all these pieces together, but now we hear like the entire story through the news like cast, I guess. Yeah, so I don't. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is where we find out the suspect, 43-year-old Gabriel Gaspari, who is currently on federal probation for prior gun charges, remains at large, but is now wanted for murder. So he had some gun charges.
Okay.
So that's nondescript, so we don't really know like what kind of gun charges. Was he like brandishing on people? Was he like we don't know.
Yep, they never go into it.
No. But now he's wanted for murder.
Yep.
And then meanwhile, while this is happening, we see a figure in the motel room. It's kind of a blurry figure though. And then the newscast continues. Like we see the figure in the room, but Gabe doesn't see it. And then the newscast says that they're working closely with the marshals to, get him apprehended and everything and all that stuff.
Yeah, and they showed the mask. They kind of like, it was like a lightning strike or something because they like showed the face. It was like the pale face.
Yeah, when the lightning strike and showing the mask, that happens at Carly's house.
Didn't that happen in the hotel room scene with Gabe too? I thought you could kind of see the face there too. I couldn't remember, but
it was blurred out. We didn't get a good look until Carly's house.
All right. Yeah, and yeah, this right here, it's like, but they made a point to show earlier that I think it was when Carly left, the door was left unlocked. Gabe's hotel room door was left unlocked.
Oh yeah.
It was the little, it's a lock on the handle and it was straight up and down and not sideways. So it was not straight up and down. It was sideways. So it wasn't locked.
That's right.
So but then again, it could have been locked and it really wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, because this person wanted to get in. You know what I mean? It's like all that's between you is that door. And then there's an adjoining hotel room door too. So there's a lot of like, how did they get in there? Was it locked? Wasn't it locked? How does the deal? But I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that. But already in the room.
Yeah.
And let's see. So he's heard the commotion next door. Where did we go from here? Did he get what happened here? I'm trying to think.
So all of a sudden he kind of gets a sense that someone's there.
Yep.
And then he kind of like turns around, but he doesn't see anybody. But then he hears like thudding and like door squeak and everything in the next room over, room number 9. Room number 9.
Yep.
And so he goes up to the wall and he's like listening, but as he's doing that, he trips and like knocks the lamp over. And then like he gets freaked out because he makes a noise and Carly's not supposed to be there. Like this is a room for just one person and Carly's not there. So he's alerting people that he's there. So he gets freaked out about that. And then all of a sudden his phone like rings and makes a lot of noise. So he's been outed that he's there. And that was the phone ringing was Carly calling to tell him that she's done. And yeah, and it's like, okay, and so but he's begging her, please don't and stuff. And then while he's on the phone with her, the room, the motel room phone rings. And he's like, you have to talk to them. And so this was kind of cool. So
yeah,
he only gets good reception in the bathroom. So he puts his cell phone in the sink and the room phone in the sink. And he has Carly talk to Bryce on the phone that way. And it's like, I don't know, that was kind of a neat idea. I like how they did that.
Yeah, that was kind of slick.
Yeah. And so that works out, and it seems like Bryce accepts her explanation, but she says that she bumped her head in the shower and broke a lamp. So that prompts Bryce to come over with a new lamp. So he comes over and he's like, he wants to check on Carly, and Gabe is. So this got me. I was real like, what? So Bryce goes up to the hotel room and he's like, knocking and stuff, and he's like, Carly or Miss whatever her last name was, and no answer, and he's like, I'm just gonna come in, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Right?
Like what? That's no.
Yeah.
No.
Not okay.
No, not in the least. So he unlocks the door and goes to step in, but that's when Gabe is like, I gotta do something. So he stops the door from opening, and he's like, she's not here. She had to like go out, and he's trying to get rid of Bryce, and Bryce is like, well, I just I wanted to check on her and stuff, and Gabe was like, yeah, she's fine. She just had to go out. And Bryce like, well, there's another issue. Like, I keep trying to charge the credit card, but I think I've got the wrong address. So Gabe gives Bryce her address, which is kind of a hint right there. I knew what was going to happen when they did that. And then he's like, oh, gee, I had it as south, not north, and, don't get old and all this shit. And he's like, and can you just hand me the broken lamp? And he's trying to like exchange lamps. And Gabe opens the door and he's like, look, I don't need any, because Gabe's phone starts calling and it's Andre. And he's supposed to answer the phone as soon as Andre calls. So he is desperately trying to get rid of Bryce, and he's like, dude, I don't want any fucking clean towels, and I don't need a new lamp. Just go away. And he slams the door, and he misses Andre's call. And then he tries calling back, it goes to voicemail, and then then what happened? Yeah, so then we see.
Doesn't Andre call him back?
Yeah, no, he tries to call Andre back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Gabe misses Andre's call. And then Gabe tries to call Andre back, goes to voicemail, and then Bryce is like hearing him like be like, oh shit, all this shit from inside the room. And then Bryce like turns around and he sees a car parked, And that's Andre watching Bryce. Yeah, because Bryce turns around and looks at him, and then that's when Andre drives off. So, yeah, that was a little bit weird.
Yep.
And then okay, yep, and then it's at night, and marshals are driving, and they're going through Gabe's info, and then they start discovering. They discover that his ex is Carly Phelps, and her charges were possession with intent, solicitation, and child endangerment, and she has a 7-year-old son that she lost custody of a year ago, and he's now in foster care. And she'll get visitation if she's good. So they decide to pay her a visit to see if he visited her. So then that same night, so as the audience, we see them, they decide, okay, let's go visit Carly. So then a moment later, at Carly's house, she's in bed, then all of a sudden you hear knocking on the door. So we're to think that, oh, it's the marshals. The marshals are at the door checking to see if she's heard from Gabe. She grabs a bat, she goes downstairs and asks like who it is, and the person says police. And so she puts the bat down. She's like, oh shit. And she puts the bat down, puts her phone down, opens the door. There's nobody there, so she closes it. She picks the bat back up, and she kind of hears like a thud. So she goes in the kitchen, and she looks out the window into the yard, and she sees someone in a white mask outside. So she rushes. To retrieve her phone, she rushes to the foyer, but her phone is missing. Outside, we see Paleface cutting power to the house. And then she's slowly walking. This is such a horror movie trope. She's holding her bat, and she's slowly walking backwards around her house. And all of a sudden, we see light, because it's raining out. We see a lightning flash, and we see Paleface in the house, and then suddenly he lunges at her as she gets knocked down, but she does get back up, and she hides behind a door, and then Paleface he stabs through the door with the knife, misses her, and then he makes his way upstairs, and then he looks over and sees a picture of her go ahead.
It was that Stephanie lady, which is we find out is it's her mom.
Yep.
Right. It's her mom. And you see the necklace, right? At this point, you see the puzzle piece necklace that she's wearing in the picture, because Carly has a piece of that on. And then doesn't he does the little reveal.
Yes, he does. So she's on the floor, and he looks at the picture, and he takes out the necklace.
Yep.
And then he stabs her. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. He stabs her, then she falls. And then that's when she looks at the photo, and then he shows the puzzle piece necklace so she had the heart with a puzzle piece cut out in it, and then her mom had the puzzle piece, so it was like a mother-daughter thing. And then it looks, so then right after that, it looks to us like he finishes the job, like it looks like he kills her. So the next day, the marshals show up at her house. They're knocking on the door. There's no answer. So they decide to walk around the house. Tim looks in a window and go ahead.
Hang on. Did you mention that before she got attacked, she threw the hotel room key in the garbage and her meth pipe, which she pulled out of her purse?
Oh, that's right. When she got home, when she decided she was done with Gabe, yeah, she threw the hotel key away, and
And
then
they try to do that whole montage of her crying, sitting there on the bathroom, that nasty ass bathroom floor and a
yeah,
towel. I'm like, that's like artsy type shit right there. They're trying to do.
mm-hmm,
It really was with that, like, but yeah, she was a fucking tweaker. I'm like, yep. I was
yeah,
like, there's the pipe. There it is. She threw the pipe and the ice away. There's that, threw the hotel room key away. That's right in the garbage can. So yeah, then the marshals and they show up at the house, which I'll give them one thing, at least their outfits, like their gear they had on, looked good. It was kind of funny, the car they were driving though. I'm like, I think U.S. Marshals be driving a more standard issue, larger sedan or an SUV, but okay.
yeah,
I understand you're working on a budget here, but yeah, they looked the part. They looked decent in their gear and everything. What's his name? The director, he actually like had a decent build. So he, like, the other guy was like, he's kind of believable, but the what's his name? James, is it Morris? Was he? I took the page down, but anyway, so they go and they sweep the house and they look in the window and he sees the blood,
yeah,
and that's when they decide to breach the rear door, and they go in, and then they call the cops, and the cops basically kind of fucking say, we're taking it, and they turn it over to him. But as they're leaving, and they followed the blood trail all the way upstairs, that's when they call the police. He fucking gets in the garbage can. Mike, is it Mike or Tim, finds the hotel room key?
yeah. I think now I can't remember which one did, but yeah,
Yeah.
one of them did. I thought it was Tim.
Yeah.
Tim
Yeah.
was kind of like the lead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he reached it because he had the gloves on. He was wearing black gloves. So yeah, he reached in there and grabbed the key
Mm-hmm.
for the hotel room.
Yep.
So they've got a lead there.
Yep. That's how they find. Yeah, that's where they decide to go next.
Yep.
And yeah, because they asked the cops, they're like, well, because the cops had asked the neighbors if they had seen anything, and they're like, well, yeah, we saw some guy walking around in a white mask last night, and Tim was like, well, they saw this guy and no one thought to notify the cops, and they're like, well, any other day, yeah, but it's Halloween, so so that's why nobody said anything. So that made sense. And then yeah, they spot the key in the trash. And then back at the motel, Gabe's watching his phone. Like, he's sitting on the bathroom floor with his phone on the toilet. Like the lid's closed, it's on top of the lid, and he's just watching it because he's waiting for Andre to call. Suddenly, Andre calls, and he's like, he says, I'll pick you up in 3 hours. And he says, Gabe, answer your fucking phone. And Gabe promises to answer his phone. Mm-hmm. And so, Gabe is like, yeah, he's all happy. He's getting his things together. And then as he's kind of like straightening up the place, he takes the towel off the mirror. And we see Paleface behind him.
Yep.
And and he's standing there. Gabe is clueless. He doesn't know Paleface is in the room. Suddenly, the bathroom door closes, and we hear banging noises. And then this weird story. Gabe starts telling us a story. He starts telling the audience a story. This is what baffled me.
Yeah.
Because, like, this is a really good story, and it would have been awesome if it meant anything to the movie, but it doesn't. I felt bad for him. Like, I felt bad. It was a sad story, but it doesn't. It means nothing.
No, it's like, what the fuck? Why did you even include that?
I don't know. I really don't know.
There was absolutely, because I watched it and I'm sitting there and I asked, I said, did I miss something? I was like, what was I supposed to like wonder about what happened to him as a kid? Like, because it didn't mean a damn thing. Like, it
No, because
literally meant nothing.
literally nothing. Because I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna get something good here in this story. We're gonna find out, like
Yep.
we're gonna get a piece of the puzzle here. No, nothing.
No.
We just hear this sad story.
Yeah. His parents left him in a fucking park or some shit and then
Yeah.
drove 3 hours home and had to turn around, come back and get him. His dad's like, get in the car. Like,
I don't know.
Okay. And that shit was like what? About 3 minutes worth of monologue on his part.
Yeah, I wrote the entire monologue. Like, I wrote it down in my notes. I got the whole thing, and it's a page worth. And
I was gonna say it's a page and a half of dialogue, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, this literally has no bearing on the story. It doesn't even flesh out Gabe's character. Because like, the story is sad, yeah, but it doesn't really give us anything.
No, it didn't. It didn't add anything. There was no depth gained to the character.
No.
It was just, hey, here's a fucking detour.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And then to top it all off, after he's done telling the story, Chad, his 17-year-old boss, the one that he vehicular manslaughtered, says, I don't care.
Yep.
Like, okay. So then Gabe wakes up and he's got duct tape over his mouth and wrists. He's all bound. He's in plastic sheeting, and he hears like spray bottle noises. He looks up and it looks like Bryce is kind of preparing a crime scene. So he manages to get his phone and make a call. Well, the phone is like, he makes a call, and next to him the phone is ringing. So he shines like the light from his phone over, and it's Carly dead next to him.
Yep.
And then Bryce hears the whole phone thing. So Gabe pretends to like be passed out. And then we see Carly's body kind of get dragged off, and Bryce is dragging it to like this place in the floor where it opens up, like basically like who was that serial killer that did that? Was it Ed Gein? He hid bodies.
Was the one. No, wasn't that Gacy that buried bodies in the footings? It was John Wayne Gacy that buried the bodies of his victims under his porch and shit like that. And I think.
Yeah, you're like right.
Footings or the crawl space. Wasn't it a crawl space or something?
Crawl space and and then like under his basement there was like a place under his basement floor where he did that too. So it was kind of Gacy-ish how he set that up.
And this is the thing. Okay, so at this point we know it's Bryce, right? So we're putting all this together with all the missing people. So this has been going on for years and years. So there's no smell emanating from that hole.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, I don't give a fuck if those bodies are wrapped in plastic. Yeah. That shit is going, when it gets hot, that is going to stink in that fucking room. Like that you're going to smell with years and years worth of decomposing corpses. That is going to smell. Yeah, I don't think they put lime down there though.
No, well, they didn't show it, but
They
I
didn't
mean,
show it, but
I
is
guess we can imagine that they use lots of lime in order to
yeah,
make it not smell.
because
Because
as thorough as they were, you would think that they had this. If they have something like that, you have to assume that they're, going ahead and doing something to prevent the smell from escaping that trap door.
yeah, it had to be lime. And yeah, exactly, Manliness. Like that, a little dead mouse, a little like it fits in your hand. We like that happened to us. There was a mouse that died somewhere inside the walls or somewhere, and it was so strong. And that's just a little mouse. I can't even imagine a whole body.
No.
So yeah, we have to assume that they used tons of lime because they were renting these rooms out. There was no indication that they had ever shut the motel down.
No.
So yeah.
No, it stayed open.
Yeah. So yeah, they had to be using lime, but minor detail. But yeah, I mean it's funny because I thought the exact same thing. It was like because the dirt was like right up to the floor too. It was like there was no like that's not even a crawl space. That's just like floor and then dirt.
That's a Michigan basement, basically.
Ooh.
That's what it is. I've seen houses that have like dirt floored basements and so that's a Michigan basement. They're built on a regular foundation. Your floor will be sealed up underneath your old wood. There are old wooden floors, but yeah, that's our cabin. It's like all hardwood floors, and then you lift open a thing to get to turn the water off and on, and it's just nothing but dirt underneath it.
Oh my God, isn't that like okay? So I don't want to go off on a tangent, but all right, yeah. So that was I didn't know that was a thing. So that was kind of surprising to me. And then, okay, so where are we now? Okay, yep. So Gabe's phone is ringing, and Bryce hears it. He walks over, and Gabe is trying to answer the phone. It's because it's Andre, and then Bryce takes the phone and destroys it. And Bryce says, "Now think carefully. Did you or Carly say anything to anybody about what you saw here?" And he never answers.
No.
But then we see Bryce get a knife and then he stabs Gabe. Gabe kicks him off and the lamp falls another lamp falls over. And then Gabe manages to kind of stand himself up and he's kind of moving around the room and even Bryce is like, what are you doing? And geniusly he sets it up so that eventually Bryce goes to lunge at Gabe with a knife, but he trips over the cord, the lamp cord, and falls short, ends up falling on his own knife. And then Gabe walks out of the motel, and then we see Andre waiting in the car. And instead of going to the car, and here's another thing. So when he does that, and we see Andre waiting in the car at 1:09:54 in the movie, we see. You saw it too? Did you see that? Did you see it in the movie?
I didn't see the time.
Oh, but you know what I'm gonna that okay, so yeah, I was like, whoa, somebody messed up in the editing floor. But yeah, the license plate blurring, we saw that, and I was like, wait, it kind of looked like a video game for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, whoops. But but low budget and all that. So so he decides to not go with Andre. Big mistake. He goes to the office instead and decides to dial 911 and sets the phone down. And then he goes to the motel room and cleans his hands. And as he's doing that, he says, "You can come out now." And then the woman walks out and she's holding a gun. I forget her name. Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. Her name is Michelle. And he says, "You're the one that answered the door." And she says, "Yes, I did." And what he's talking about is in the beginning, when Gabe is hearing the sounds through the motel room wall. And Carly's like, "Did you do anything?" And Gabe was like, "No." She goes, "Well, I'm gonna go over and see if she's okay." That's the woman who answered the door. And because it goes to a cut scene and it shows us that scene instead of in the beginning where we only heard it. So we see Carly asking the woman if she's okay, and Michelle's like, "He's so sweet" and all that stuff. And then she says to Gabe, we should have let him kill you as soon as he knew." And Gabe says, "Who are you?" And then the scene cuts to outside when we see the cops are on the scene. And then it goes back into the room and she smiles and this is kind of too much. But she says, "I'm the reason you don't sleep at night. I'm the thing under the bed, the eyes in the closet. I'm that shadow in the corner. I'm the legend, the myth. I'm the thing that children whisper about." And she says, "You know that sound? That screech you hear in the middle of the night? That's me. You know who I am, Gabe? I'm the mother of all scary things." And then I thought that was kind of a bit much. But a masked person, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, come on, this is stupid. Because she doesn't have any kind of supernatural, like, aura about her. She's just a person.
Yeah, she's just an angry middle-aged woman with a pistol. Like, that's all. I'm like, I kind of chuckled at that. I'm like, I hope this is going somewhere.
I know. I'm like, is she gonna keep using more and more descriptors? Because like this just could go on ad absurdum.
I was like, okay, what else are we? What else?
I know.
I'm the vengeance that comes in the night. I want you to. She's like, "I want you to do something for me." He's like, "What?" She grabs him. "Tell your friends about me. Tell them I'm Batman." Whoa. Settle down, Michelle.
Yeah. So after that whole diatribe, we see a masked person stand up, and she goes, "Bye-bye now." And then we see the Marshall storm room 8, and they're like, Gabriel, whatever his last name was, and all that stuff, and they're raiding the room. Nobody's in the room, and then all of a sudden, like, we hear knife stabbing, and then we see Gabe on the floor, and we see him getting stabbed to death. But the Marshals are storming the room, so we know he's in the adjacent room. He's in room 9.
Yep.
So then they're kind of like, okay, well, he's not here. So they're looking around the room and they find that white mask on the toilet. And that's I actually forgot to mention this, but Carly got him that mask in the beginning. He asked for a mask, and he was like, "What the heck is this shit?" When she handed him that, and she's like, "Well, you wanted a mask," and he's like, "Yeah, like a ski mask or something to hide my face." And she's like, "Well, it's Halloween. That's all there is right now." And so that's where that mask came from. He never used it, but it's convenient that they found it on the toilet, because remember, these cops got a report that there was a masked man in Carly's yard, and then she ends up dead.
Yep.
And then we see the killer take his mask off from behind, and he's got like a shaved head and scars and stuff. So we don't get to see his face, which I thought was a good idea.
Yeah, they didn't go full what was that? In a Violent Nature.
Yes. If you're gonna unmask, don't show us the front of, like, don't show us his face. So, then we see Room 9 from Outer Space. I mean, that's how it felt. It really like might have been a better movie. But so the marshals are now in the office, and Michelle is now like acting as the manager of the office, and she plays dumb and innocent, like a nice old lady, not old but middle age, and and then they're like asking questions and whatnot, and then they walk off, and in the background, kind of blurred, we see Paleface. And she says she's looking forward, and he's behind her, blurred. And she says, "We're not safe here anymore. We did the one thing we said we weren't going to do. They're going to come back." So then it cuts to the marshals in the diner, and Tim has a chip on his shoulder, so he's kind of like bitching about how Mike is eating a piece of pie for breakfast. But Tim starts talking about how he remembers how his father was really bothered, because apparently his father was a marshal too. And that would have been some good backstory to include. But anyway, so his father like was really bothered about, he couldn't find a girl that had gone missing. And for years that bothered him. Then he talks about how it's weird that, Gabe was there 1 hour and then completely gone the next. Like, he's not smart enough to evade them like that.
Yeah.
And the other marshal's like, yeah, he's not smart. We'll find him. And Tim is like, no, he's not that smart. Like, Tim is kind of working on a theory that something's up. Something happened to Tim. So he says, I don't think Tim meant to kill that kid. So if he didn't mean to kill that kid, then why would he kill Carly? So he's starting to question the entire thing. Yep. And the other marshal's like, well, maybe Carly was going to turn him in and stuff. And Tim says, the local, on top of all that, the local PD were saying they saw the guy in the mask walking around, and then we just happen to find this mask in the motel room, like basically saying like, this is too convenient. It's like a setup. So Tim, the gears are turning in Tim's mind. And then the other marshal says, maybe Paleface is back. Well, the black waitress is pouring their coffee. And as he says that, she like overfills the coffee and it spills. Yep. And she's like freaked out. And she's like, are you serious? Do you really think Paleface is back? And then and they're like, no, we don't. And then the other waitress says, like, we see them over across the diner and they're talking to each other. And, like you can tell they're kibitzing about Paleface and stuff. And Tim says out loud, it's not Paleface. And everybody in the diner kind of turns and looks at him. Yep. And then all of a sudden, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Not all of a sudden. Then we see Tim walk over to the window and look out the window, and we see from his perspective the motel room from the window. Now that's the same view in the beginning when we see someone watching Carly drive off. So whoever was watching from the diner. So we know that this is like, I feel like they're trying to tell us we can't trust anybody in the town. Could be anybody.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to written and directed by James Morris. And then we see a scene with a camcorder like facing us, like facing, it looks like we're looking into the camcorder. Mm-hmm. And and then we see a grainy looking film, and it's the back of an adolescent boy, and on the tape it says 11:07 a.m. April 26, 1997. um, that's when Carly Phelps' mom went missing.
Stephanie
Yes,
Phelps.
Stephanie Phelps. Yep. And then on the film we hear the sound of a woman kind of like sounds like getting murdered, and then it cuts to produced by Michael Bailiff and James Morris, and then we see a scene. It's a grainy film again of that same boy, and then like an older woman, presumably his mom, sits next to him, and then so they're still facing away from us, looking at a door. Looks like the hotel room. The door is closed, but they're like looking towards the door. So, and then the door opens, and we see a guy in a mask. He's in the doorway, and then we hear like the victim crying, and then it cuts to a story by James Morris, Michael Bailiff, and Colin Cunningham. Colin Cunningham was the guy who played Gabe. And then we see the masked man, the pale face, who is also Bryce. It sits on the other side of the kid and says, this'll work, but from now on, only people from around here.
Not from people not around here.
Yeah, no, only from people
around here?
Around here, yeah.
Okay.
Because their mistake this time was killing Gabe, who is not from around here, which is going to cause people to come looking from out of town,
outside the town.
Yeah. And then it goes to like more credits, and then during the credits we hear mom's voice, "Go ahead, just like we showed you." And then we see the kid put on the mask, and we hear the victim crying, and then mom hands the kid the knife, and the kid goes into the room where the victim is, and we see more credits, and then we see the woman in the tub, Stephanie Phelps, duct tape on her mouth. She's bound just like how Gabe was bound and everything, and she has the necklace. That's how we know it's her. And then more credits. And then we see young Paleface. He rips her necklace off. That's how he gets the necklace. More credits. Then kid shuts the bathroom door, and mom and dad are sitting on the bed, still facing away from the camera, just waiting for him. We hear the victim screaming, stabbing noises, all that stuff. So we know he's murdering her. Then all of a sudden, young Paleface opens the door. His hands are bloody, and then we get all the credits, and we see like the Indiegogo contributors, which I thought was awesome that they included that. But then there's another after credits thing where first we just hear someone knocking on the door, and then we see that it's Michelle knocking on the door, and it's Christmas time, and she's like, "I'm sorry it's so late, I hate to bother you at this time, but I've run out of gas. Could I please use your phone?" And the guy is like, "Yeah, sure, come on in." And then she's like, "Oh, you're so sweet." Same thing she said to Carly. And then in the car we see Paleface put his mask down, and then that's it.
I missed that part.
Oh yeah, that was kind of cool.
Nice.
So now, see, I think that whole end credit scene where they're doing story by blah blah, and then a scene, and then executive produces blah blah, and then a scene. I thought that was so creative.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. That was such a good use of end credit scene, because it's like a lot of people will just skip credits. That's a good way to get people to see everybody, like see all the names. And plus, I feel like that was a better movie right there.
I was just going to say that. They gave us, I missed the very last part of it, but what I did see, they really gave us a better movie in the last 5 minutes. As I said at the beginning, they gave us a better front half and back, front and back intro and outro were better
Yep.
than a lot of the actual movie.
I
Made
agree.
more sense. Yeah, that was, and that's the same thing. The wife and I were talking about. I was like it's very cool the way it was done, but it's like this should have been in the movie, like at the front half or in the
Yep.
middle somewhere where we're getting exposition.
Yep. I agree. It's like kind of a tragedy because I feel like a lot of the creativity for this movie was there, but the script, like they really needed help on the script.
Oh yeah.
And organizing the script too, like where to put some things. I feel like that was because things were a little bit disjointed, and like that whole diatribe about him going camping and all, that whole sad story, which added absolutely nothing to the movie. No. Like instead of that, put in a story about how he lost his son. Like maybe he was married before and he lost his son, and that marriage like dissolved. Or give us something to like connect with Gabe. We never really connected to Gabe.
No, there was nothing to glom onto with his character.
Nothing.
He was an ex-convict who killed his boss during the commission of a robbery, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Embezzlement. I don't know what
it had to be like such a small amount of cash to a snow cone place.
Right? Like, would you get like about $200?
Yeah.
Like that's
dude, you probably paid more a week than that.
Yeah, so short. Well, $9 an hour. If he's working 20 hours, he's making 180. He's almost making that right there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
and you get to stay out of jail.
Right. Right. That seems like that would be a motivating factor alone, but apparently not.
Yeah.
No, there was so many things about this movie that didn't make sense. The writing, yeah. This could have been good. Obviously, I think the pale face thing is a nod, an homage to Michael Myers. It just seems like that was. There's so many like Psycho and other references in this. It's very it leans on that, but other than some of that stuff, the dialogue is very, very wonky. The writing is atrocious in spots.
Yeah.
It is just atrocious. And I don't want to be too rough on it because it's an indie film, but at the same time, there's good and bad in it. But it's not, like I said, this is Deer Camp 86 was, in terms of quality, that was better.
Oh yeah. I mean, even just the story itself, Deer Camp was better.
Yep.
I feel like I said, I feel like the idea behind the movie was good. I just think they really, really needed to wait a while and perfect the script, perfect the dialogue, because I don't know. It's just the decisions I don't understand. Like why? Like that whole camping trip essay. Like
yeah. It's just, and like I said, there's so many pieces they could have cut out of what was actually in the film and brought some of that credit stuff into the movie. I know you wanted to use that so people actually saw who made it, because it was an indie project. But at the same time, it's like you really, really shit the bed in terms of story with including that in the credits as opposed to putting it in the movie.
Yep.
Like that would have added so much more. And I looked up some articles on this, and they call this a slasher. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I take issue with that only in the context of this is more of a serial killer, like, and not a slasher to me. Does that make sense? They're like a family of serial killers. Like it's not a solo slasher out, randomly killing people in this town. It's a family that operates like a well-oiled murder factory.
It's kind of like a I really don't know. Like, it's not a traditional.
No, it's not. It's like a procedural slasher movie, but they're very light on the procedure because these guys wouldn't. This would be like if they tried to write this as a procedural crime drama as opposed to like a horror movie, it would end up with the quality of She-Hulk because they didn't know how to write courtroom legal drama shit. And they were just like, we'll just do it this way, these. Like, this was better served as leaning on being a slasher as opposed to like a crime drama, even though at its core, to me anyway, that's more of what it is than a slasher movie. I understand. Like I said, I'll give it, that's what it's classified as, but just from my perspective, this is a serial kill. This is like an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
The crazy family that runs the hotel has the serial killer mongoloid son, and they murder people. They just select from around town, and then they throw them in the fucking floor of their hotel. So yeah, I looked at that more like this is more of a serial killer family than it is a slasher. I don't know, but I mean, I guess Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they were a family of serial killers, and that cannibalistic serial killers, and that's a slasher and not a crime thriller. But
yeah, it's kind of weird. Like it's hard to really categorize it because you're right. It's like a slasher is usually like where Paleface would be like kind of an indiscriminate, like he would just go around killing.
Yeah. They're targeting people.
Yeah.
So I'm not splitting hairs on how I'm going to rate the movie. I'm just, as far as classifying this one goes, this falls more along the lines of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which I think has kind of an influence on this as well.
It does kind of, I get that vibe.
I could see more of The Town That Dreaded Sundown in this as far as like the story, from not obviously the entire thing, because we got a different there with this one, with the criminal on the run kind of thing. But overall, just the town and the way it's handled, I don't know. I think I'm overthinking it a little bit, but I mean, there's a lot in here, and do you want to rank this one first?
Oh man, I will try. God, this is hard.
It is. That's what she said.
I'm gonna say 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Is that too hard on it?
No, because honestly, my initial reaction was a 1.5, but I'm like, I gotta go. I think I gave Deer Camp 86 a 2.5. I almost gotta go with a 1.5 on this one. I really do. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on it.
No, you know what? No, you're right. I'm actually gonna amend mine to just a 2. I'm gonna go with 2. Yeah, because Yeah, because if we're doing 1 to 5, 2.5 would be like an average, and I don't think it's average.
No, I got to go with I'm going with the 1.5 on this one. The writing is too much to overlook. And the wasted scenes,
Yeah.
and it's just eh,
Like,
like
I mean, I get it. I know it's an indie project, but even still, like, that doesn't mean that that you could get away with bad writing.
yes, that's it. That is it. Yeah, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're gonna put something out like this that
Mhm.
had a budget and you had people crowdfund it, you want to give them the best product you can give them for their investment.
Mhm.
And I give them all the credit in the world for putting this together and making it and seeing it through and releasing it.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not, and I never have been a fan of participation trophies.
Right.
So, and we're being very objective. We're not shitting on this movie at all. We're merely dissecting it. And yeah, I think, mine's a 1.5, you're a 2. We're in agreement. This wasn't really great. It wasn't average. This is a below average movie.
Yeah.
That's
I
where it's
hate
gonna
to,
live.
yeah, I hate to do it, but I gotta be honest, and yeah, that's 2 as best I can do. Because I mean, yeah, like I'm giving it a 2 because the beginning, the how they set up like the synopsis in the beginning, and how the words he never left, and then the theme in the beginning I thought was well done as well. The
Yeah.
aerial shots were beautiful. Um, and then that ending credit scene, the way they set that up was awesome.
Yep.
So 1 for the beginning, 1 for the end, uh,
Yeah.
0 for the middle.
That's I got one in the front, one in the back, and then 0.5 for the mountain refresher joke.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was a good joke.
Yep, that's what gets the 0.5. I got 0.5 in the front. Yeah, 0.5 in the front, 0.5 in the back, and then 0.5 in the middle to bring me to a 1.5. I did
Yeah.
Steiner math. I'm stoned. I fucked up at first, but no, yeah, 1.5 between that and 2. That's where this movie lives. This I see on their Indiegogo they had 112 Blu-rays claimed. 10 out of they had this on VHS. That's actually kind of cool. They had a missing person photo extra, a screen used mask. That was a $500 tier. 1 out of 1 of those was claimed, and an associate producer's credit for $500. 3 out of 3 of those were claimed.
Nice.
Yep.
Now, see, I wish these guys success in the future. I hope they do more. But I hope it's more like not polished in a sense where it looks pretty, but more polished in the writing and character building. I hope they improve on, because I feel like the way it was filmed was fine. It didn't, you didn't get it. Oh man, this looks low budget. Like, you didn't really get that, except for that part where, hey Vinny, except for that part where they were blurring out the license plate, kind of messed up on that part. But yeah, that was kind of like, how did you miss that? Yeah, basically
I
meaningless.
I went to the Witching Season films website from the Indiegogo, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how big of a fan I am of Halloween 4 in the
Mm-hmm.
intro that I remixed for the show, right?
Yep.
So I found this on YouTube, and I've been subscribed to the Witching Season Films YouTube channel for about probably 2 months now. I found them back in the beginning of October, maybe late September. I'm going to share this. Hang on a second. Let me drop this background music here. I'm going to share this because Witching Season Films did something that I love, and this is how I found their channel. They did an homage to the opening credits of Halloween 4. They recreated it. I want to show this. I want to show this here on YouTube. Hang on a second. I gotta stop this because they did an excellent job with it. Yeah, as somebody who loves remixing intros, this is what they did here.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, they did an excellent job with that. I love that movie so much for that for the movie, the whole movie alone. But that opening is just growing up in a rural area like I did, you know, that kind of imagery and everything, especially around Halloween, that just it hits different. Yeah, I really dig that one. But that was our review of He Never Left. Yeah, that was a that was an interesting watch. Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, if this one wasn't independent, I'd say they tried to set up for a sequel or a prequel, actually.
Yeah, I got that feeling too.
You know, if they, I wonder, I'll have to look. Actually, let me go back to the website. Let's see here. If I don't see anything for He Never Left 2. They have the Witching Season and the Witching Season 2. They Live Inside Us. Yeah. They have their other projects. They have listed. Let's see. The Witching Season. Fueled by Halloween nostalgia, The Witching Season is a horror anthology featuring 5 tales of terror that are set during the spookiest of seasons. The series is available to watch for free on our YouTube channel, as well as a handful of other streaming platforms. You can also find it on special edition Blu-ray, VHS tape through Screen Team Releasing. Hang on, I'm going to share their YouTube. They got 25,000 subscribers on their channel. I'll drop their link in the chat right there if you guys want to check out their other projects. They are in their YouTube channel. They have a audio story as well on fucking cassette. That's cool. Witching Tales of Halloween: Legend of the Weeping Window. Yeah. So if you want to check their projects out over there on Witching Season Films on their YouTube channel, it's available. Other than that, next week, Trina, we got a good one. We're watching Tenebrae next week with J-Man.
Yeah. Yep.
He's gonna review that with us.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the movie, so we will see.
Yep. I'm gonna take a lot of notes on that one. And then the following week, I know you're excited for this. Try to contain and curb your enthusiasm. Folks, you're really going to want to tune in on what's the date? The 19th, I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, November. Or no, the 19th is Tenebrae. The 26th of November is Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2.
I'm gonna be very objective.
I don't know. I will be more objective with the first film. The second film, you're gonna get a lot of angry dialogue out of me on that one. Like I should film. I'm gonna, I'll film little vignettes while I'm watching it. I should do that. I'll set up my camera and I'll have little reactions because I haven't watched that movie in years because it's so fucking bad. I've watched clips of it that I've taken to use in other videos just to show how stupid it is. Like when the two corners are in the van and they've got Meyer's body and he's like, what's the difference between a corpse and what does he say? A corpse and I can't remember what. He's like, but you can't something your dick in a fucking, I don't know. It was like, it's the most Rob Zombie fucking dialogue. I mean, it's so like the one guy, the one corner is alluding to being a necrophiliac. And he was talking about how cute the dead girl was. And it's like, oh my God, this is so fucking Rob Zombie. Holy shit, dude. But yeah, so we're reviewing those on the 26th.
It's so like, yeah, I'm gonna have stuff to say when we do that, like about Rob Zombie and stuff.
And I say this as a fan of his music. I've been to see him at concert 3 times. Puts on a fantastic fucking stage show. I love his music. I've listened to the guy since I was a fucking kid, White Zombie and all that shit. But goddamn his movies. Outside of House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, which I did like. I did like those two. Yeah, something about seeing Dwight Schrute murdered and turned into a mermaid. I was all right with that.
Yeah, Rob Zombie grew up in a town a town over from where I grew up in, but I also lived in the town that Rob Zombie was from.
Okay.
So he very much acts like the town that he's from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're going to have to explain this to me off air.
Yeah, so not much to tell, but yeah.
That's funny. Before we go, I want to take a moment to thank our channel members and our patrons, Patreon supporters. So here we go. Savage reaction to mortal fear. Back to survival, no help for humanity. Back in the prime. So thank you, and a special shout out to Sean Etep out there.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. You, dude, you go above and beyond, man. And thank you to all our channel members, Patreon supporters. Folks, no movie night tomorrow night. Etep is getting in the wrestling ring tomorrow. The old bones as they're cracking here as I stretch sitting in my desk chair. Yeah, because we're don't call it a comeback because we've been here for years. We're going to take wrestling with horror to the next level here, folks. Not only do I cover professional wrestling, not only do we cover horror, but Trina doesn't cover professional wrestling, but your boy, and I've said it for years, your boy was and is a professional wrestler. So I'm getting them to lace up the boots. I have a fun gimmick planned, and we might even, who knows, you might even get Etep's cameraman live streaming from ringside, asking you guys what move I should use during a match. I'm just saying that's something that could happen. So we're going to have some fun going into the next year. We want to take this to the next level.
Are you going to be wearing a luchador mask?
I didn't want to give this away, but no, I'm not. I am going to, okay, so I'm getting some new gear made specifically with our Wrestling with Horror logo on it. That's going to be on my singlet that I'm going to wear. I'm wearing my long pants and I'm going to wear that over my singlet with the Wrestling with Horror logo on it. And I'm going to come down to the ring in the fucking hockey mask. And my entrance music is going to be the Friday the 13th Part 3 disco theme.
That's awesome.
Yep. I'm going to get like a red, like I've got that Camp Crystal Lake red flannel. I don't want to wear that to the ring, so I don't want that to get fucked up, but I'm going to get another one and get a Wrestling with Horror patch and have it sewn on the back of it and cut the sleeves off of it and wear that down to the ring over my singlet and everything.
Manliness has the best idea right here.
Why is Etep always wrestling the Mexican dudes? We don't have any Haitians. But thank you everybody. Trina, thank you for being here again.
Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, this was good. Even though the movie sucked, it was fun to review, as usual. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in and hanging with us. And thank you everybody who watches on the replay. We really appreciate all of you.
Yep. Thank you guys out there. And yeah, I'll record. I don't know if I'll be able to record any footage tomorrow night because it's only training. And I don't want to be a diva during training. That's not how I'm coming into this at all. I'm coming in at 44 years old and I want to help the younger guys out with their promo and help them get better. That's my goal for this. I want to give back to the wrestling business. Even though it's taken from me and that's all the business does. Look, I'm a journeyman at this point, so I want to give something back. And you guys out there will get some exclusive content out of that. Trust me, I will have stuff. So I'm telling you, we will put it on Patreon and for channel members, some behind the scenes stuff. And we'll start tagging the Super Shogun Wrestling channel in the description to every video because that's where our matches, my matches will be over there. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. We love you guys. We'll see you next Tuesday right back here on Wrestling with Horror. I'll have some videos this week, too. I got tomorrow. I'm going to do a video for you guys. So watch them. I love you guys. That's it. Good night.